Ford claims her roommate agreed to split the proceeds from selling their litter of puppies, but kept the cash instead. Sylvia Parrish says she was tired of Miss Ford owing her money. Miss Parrish is countersuing for $2,250.
All right, Miss Ford, you are suing Ms. Parrish for $1,875 that you say she owes you for the sale of puppies that are half yours, and you are counterclaiming against her for rent that she didn't pay and utilities. Let me start with you, Ms. Ford. How is it that you two met?
Sure. We met while working in a temp job at a corporate company, administrative type work. And
how long ago?
3 years ago.
Okay.
Now, yeah. And so she ended up getting a full-time position. Good for her. And I was not able to get a full-time position, but we did stay in touch because we were friends and we talked on the phone, and I did let her know that I was struggling financially and struggling to find work. And while we were on the phone one day, she was like, well, I need a roommate. So she invited me to move in with her. And I came. You
didn't have a job when she invited you to move in with her?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Did you have any savings?
I had some savings. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much was the rent supposed to be?
$1,000 she said she was thinking of doing for rent.
And what did you say? Yes, okay, that's fine?
I brought $1,000 for the first month rent because I did want to show I was there to be a good roommate. But I did also clarify from the beginning that I was not employed at the time. So I did pay that first
Right, but
month.
I mean, what was the rent going to be? She needed a roommate. It wasn't just to help you out. She also needed a roommate.
Well, as a friend, she did offer to be helpful at this time.
Yes. Yeah, and utilities, you weren't going to be paying utilities.
She never specified.
Did you expect her to also pay utilities, or was the $1,000 all you needed to add?
I didn't press her about the utilities. We only discussed the monthly rent, which would be $1,000.
So I imagine then that kind of sounds like utilities are included, but I know that you're suing for the utilities, and we'll talk about that in a second. But all right, so all she mentions is $1,000. You agree to $1,000. You pay her $1,000, and month two, what do you do?
Well, month two, I'm still unemployed. So I do give her $500, just as, again, a good faith movement.
No, it's rent. It's not good faith. It's not nice. It's not as a favor. It's rent. Go on.
Well, that could have also been clarified earlier about the
I'm sorry, what did you think was happening? You got your own room, right?
I did get my own room, and she's my friend.
The last place where you were at, did your landlord have to clarify every month what the rent was, or did your landlord
we had a contract.
Yeah, okay, well, you can have a verbal contract, though, right?
I don't think that was ever really specified.
What do you mean? You were paying, the rent is $1,000 and you're moving in. Like, how much more has to be specified? Did you think rent was going to change every month depending on what you felt you could pay?
No, I felt like it was, I'm looking for $1,000, kind of up for conversation.
Well, did you have any other conversation and say, I can only afford $750?
I did.
When did you have that conversation? Month two after you moved in?
Yes.
You're right. I mean beforehand, so that everybody is on the same page before you move in.
Right.
All right, so the only conversation is $1,000. So one would be within their right mind to think that month two, it happens again. Rent is an every 30-day thing, right? Okay, so now, you have a dog.
Correct.
You have a dog.
Yes.
Your dog is neither spayed nor neutered.
That's correct.
Neither is yours.
Correct.
Your dog is a girl or boy?
A girl.
Your dog is a boy. So what happened?
Well, my dog, Lola, a golden retriever, got pregnant.
And what is your dog?
A doodle.
Okay.
Yes.
And, wow, we didn't see that coming. Right? Like, did you guys really not see that coming?
No, we didn't plan for that.
Well, you may not have planned it, but if you have the dogs around each other and then they're in heat, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do what animals do, right? Did you tell her, oh, our dogs did it behind our back?
Yeah. No, I mentioned it.
And you were both happy, though. You weren't upset.
Well, we were like, puppies are adorable.
Okay.
You know, so.
All right. And what was the plan, though? Were you going to keep all these puppies, or the plan was to sell them?
Well, I knew that we could sell them for a significant amount of money.
Like how much?
Between $2,000 to $8,000. Golden doodles are very expensive dogs.
What dog did you have?
I had the golden retriever, the female.
And you had a what?
A labradoodle.
A labradoodle. Well, it kind of depends on the pedigree of the dogs, how much you can sell them for.
Both of our dogs were purebred dogs, and then they had these.
So can I just understand how two women with purebred dogs of a different gender who plan on breeding them and who have not spayed or neutered them didn't see it coming?
Coming up on Justice for the People.
There's two contracts that are going on here, all right? And then you took it upon yourself to, offset one against the other, but then you end up deciding to sell the puppies at $750 a piece.
And later,
stump removal, as I explained to Ms. Howard, is something that is a much more entailed job. It requires heavy machinery, and that is not...
Did you ever tell her that beforehand?
Yes, Your Honor.
if you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-THE-PEOPLE with Judge Millian. We're back with a dispute between Lucy Ford and her former roommate, Sylvia Parrish, over a litter of golden doodle puppies.
There are two different contracts between you two.
Yeah.
And be there no mistake, they are contracts. Whether they're written or verbal, they are contracts. One of them is she pays $1,000 rent a month. And the other one is we split the sale of the puppies, right?
Yes.
50-50.
Yes.
So there's two contracts that are going on here, all right? And then you took it upon yourself to, offset one against the other, but then you end up deciding to sell the puppies at $750 a piece.
Well, also as a friend at the time, I don't want to put her out. I'm trying to be as lenient.
Why don't you talk to her as a friend? Like, why don't you tell her, listen, you owe rent, I'm going to sell the puppies, I need the money, and you're not going to get any of it. I'm going to sell it for whatever I want. How
As I
about
said,
that?
she was
If you're really
very-
friends and trying to keep the friendship, how about communication?
She was very dismissive every time I tried to communicate.
Yeah, I know, so say it at her. You sold them for how much? $750?
$750.
How did you not know they were being sold? Like, were they sold to the same person? Were they sold all on the same day? What is it that went on that 4 of them got sold and you didn't notice?
Sure. So I had secured a position at that point. I went to work, and when I got back from work, the
4
dogs
of them
were
have
gone.
been sold. Who did you sell 4 of them to?
I sold them at my work company.
Okay, to 4 different people?
Yes.
Okay. So you had it planned. Or how? How did that work? Did you bring the puppies to work and people just...
I did have it planned if she didn't come to me sooner with rent that I was going to take initiative myself and just sell the puppies and get what was owed.
Why didn't you just talk to her about that?
I just feel like, again, every time I tried to communicate, she just dismissed me.
What happened to the 5th puppy?
The 5th puppy actually had a virus in its lungs, so it ended up in the hospital.
And where is it now?
I'm still paying for its medical care.
Is it still in the vet?
Yes.
At the vet hospital?
Yes.
Has she sued you for half of the vet care of the 5th dog?
Well, I've paid for the initial vaccines for the puppies. What I'm actually a little upset about is that you're supposed to keep puppies with their mom for 8 weeks, and she sold them at 4 weeks.
How did you even do that? Why did you do that? Because it is true you're supposed to keep puppies with the mom for 8 weeks. Why did you sell them at 4? It's kind of irresponsible.
Yes. Again, at the time, I'm just taking the initiative because I needed what you owed. You put me in a financial...
That doesn't change when you should sell the puppies. You should sell the puppies when it's best for the puppies and the mom, not when it's best for you, when you need the cash, and you need the cash, and you do it behind her back. Jeez.
And I'm sorry, if I may, the 5th puppy probably wouldn't be sick also if they had received better care, so.
And now, where are you? You're not living together anymore.
No.
All right, and you are suing for the cost of, because she's keeping this other dog, you're suing for the cost of 5 puppies at $750 for half of that, which you believe you're entitled to as the owner of the mom dog. And you say that she owes you $2,000. Well, you're also suing for the utilities as well. Mm-hmm. And why should I force her to pay utilities when that was never discussed?
Just out of how lenient I've been with her and everything that I've done up until this point, I feel like she's
I mean, if you knew that she didn't have a steady job, why would you want her as a roommate? Like, I would understand why you'd want to help her out, but why would you want her as a roommate who's paying and then be shocked and appalled that she didn't pay if she still hadn't
I
been
thought
able...
by the 2nd month I would definitely see a turnaround, and that didn't happen.
Do you think she was lazy? Or do you think she was just unlucky and was trying hard?
I think she was a little bit all over the place. Like, she never knew what she wanted to do with her life. I constantly gave her advice. I motivated her to try new things and new opportunities, and she was just very stagnant.
Okay. How are you living now? Did you get a job?
I did, thank you.
Okay, and do you have roommates or...
I do.
Do you have another roommate?
I do. I have a new tenant, and they now pay $1,300 plus the utilities. So that's been a great situation.
Okay. All right. So everybody's happy. So now what we got to do is we got to figure out where money goes. Okay, where money's owed. All right. She's suing for half of what you sold the puppies for, including half of the one you kept, and valuing it at $750, even though she feels like she could have sold them for between $2,000 and $8,000, right? Then you feel that what you're entitled to is the rent that you were supposed to be paid, plus for good measure, now you got to pay utilities, even though we never talked about that. I'm going to enforce the contracts you guys actually had. And so she owes you $2,250 in rent, and you owe her $1,875 in dog, which means that I am ruling in your favor a net judgment, because you have a counterclaim against her for the rent, a net judgment in your favor in the amount of $375, because she owes you rent, you owe her monies from the dog, and the difference is $375. Verdict for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Millian has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff owes $375.
I'll see you in court again.
See you here again.
Okay. Exit this way, please.
Coming up.
She also wants you to remove all the roots.
Yeah, everything.
And you'll do that for $300?
We will do it for her for $300 if she remits the $400.
Yeah, the $400.
Yeah.
Closed captioning. Austin Green claims he was hired to cut down 2 40-foot trees, but was stiffed by his client once he finished the job. Florence Howard says the plaintiff refused to take out the tree stumps, so he didn't complete the work.
All right, Mr. Green, you are suing Ms. Howard for $400 that you say is the balance owed for your tree removal services. What's going on?
Well, Your Honor, Ms. Howard contracted my company, landscaping company, to have 2 very large trees removed from the front
How
yard.
large were they?
40-foot pine trees, Your Honor. And we did so. She had a recommendation from a friend of hers, Mary, that we had done a very similar job for. And we agreed to a price, $1,000.
To remove both of them?
To remove both of them for $1,000, to clean up all the debris and have that debris dumped. And upon completion of the job, Ms. Howard refused to pay the rest
Remaining
of the money, the $400.
And why
yes.
did she refuse? Did she tell you why?
Well, she wasn't satisfied with the job. She says that the stumps were not removed with the removal of the trees.
How high up did you leave the stump?
The stump is about 1.5 feet off.
A foot and a half from the ground?
A foot and a half from the ground. But the stump removal, as I explained to Ms. Howard, is something that is a much more entailed job. It requires heavy machinery, and that is not a part of the basic tree removal
Did you ever
service.
tell her that beforehand?
Yes, Your Honor. The job that
No, I'm
Mary
not
Emerson...
asking you to repeat yourself. I'm asking you, did you tell her beforehand, stump not included, when you
I
quoted
don't believe
her
she
that
asked, Your Honor.
Say it again.
I don't believe she asked us that.
Okay, so the subject never came up about
No.
stumps. All right.
Coming up.
So are you suggesting to him that you discuss with him, I need you to pull out all of the roots?
Well,
I don't think either one of you talked about any of this. I think it's can you get this tree down? Yeah, I'll get the tree down.
Closed Judge Millian. We're back with a case of Austin Green, who brought Florence Howard to court over money owed for tree removal.
I would imagine that chopping the tree does some damage to the future growth of the tree, as
Yes,
in
Your Honor.
it
Yeah, but
doesn't.
the roots still are active.
Well,
and
I mean, so are you suggesting to him that you discuss with him, I need you to pull out all of the roots?
Well,
I don't think
that's-
either one of you talked about any of this. So I wonder if you're not in a position where you should be telling her, hey, if you want the stump removed, it's X. If you don't, it's Y. Rather than having, her being surprised as a first-time tree cutter that there's a stump issue.
Yeah, I'm absolutely empathetic to that, Your Honor. The job that Mary Emerson, the person who referred her to us had done was just the tree
it's
that's
the same
standard
thing.
across
And you know, it's two 40-foot trees,
Yes.
and you're charging $1,000 to remove two 40-foot trees. That's
Yes.
a lot of work.
We gave her
I
a
get that.
discounted rate as well.
I get
for
that.
It.
Did you ever say to him, I need
did
the
not,
stumps
Your
removed, I
Honor.
want all those roots removed? Did you ever say, did
No,
you really
but
think you were going to
I
get all
know
that done
nothing.
for $1,000?
This is my first experience having trees removed, so I have no knowledge. When he says tree removal, at the time before he cut the tree down, the roots and the stump were part of the tree. I figured the whole thing was going to be removed.
You don't just want the stumps ground, you want all the roots removed too.
Right.
We told her we would be happy to do it once she remits the rest of the payment to us. the
How much more
$400.
would you charge her to get the
At a
stumps?
discounted rate, Your Honor, $300 extra.
Oh, my
and that
God.
is a discounted rate, and that requires, as I said, heavy equipment.
Yes, it
We have to
does.
split down the stumps, and as I said, we'd be
Wait,
happy
but that's
to do
not
it.
enough. She also wants you to remove all the roots.
Yeah, everything. And
you'll
those
do that
roots
for
may-
$300?
We will do it for her for $300 if she remits the $400.
yeah, the
that she owes
$400
us. Yeah.
Lady. I'm gonna need you to listen to me because you should take what's behind door number 1.
Judge Million's verdict when justice for the people returns. Promotional consideration. Million.
Kind of feels like your industry is trying to hide it if you don't actually say this is what this costs and this is what that costs. Just seems to me like it would be so much clearer if you explained this to all of the homeowners instead of having them guessing. Having said that, however, I have no words to describe to you how inexpensive this job was.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you because I've been there, I've done it, and it is a bear. 2 40-foot trees for $1,000. I strongly suggest, well, first of all, I'm going to order you to pay him the $400, but I very, very strongly suggest that you negotiate with him those stumps, because the stumps are going to cost you so much more if you hire somebody else to do the stumps. And now you're on national television promising you'll do it for $300. So if he doesn't do it for you for $300, you make sure to tell Justice for the People with Judge Milian, because we're going to trash him nationally. All right?
Okay,
Everybody
yes,
on the
Your
same page? $400 verdict to the plaintiff.
Thank you, ma'am.
All rise.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $400.
I mean, I'll be happy to come in and clear your stumps as soon as you pay us the $400.
Back to the negotiation table then.
Okay. Exit this way.
Judy Wilcox claims her judgmental father-in-law raided her fridge and threw away expensive food she needed for an event. Scott Wilcox says the seafood had spoiled and he was afraid the party guests would get sick.
Miss Wilcox, you are suing your father-in-law, Mr. Wilcox, for $400 because he threw away your expensive seafood. Please tell me what's going on here.
Yes, Your Honor. I had an extravagant party that I was hosting for my son's school, and Mr. Wilcox here threw away all my seafood that I had in the
All
refrigerator.
right, let's back up a little bit and tell me about your relationship with your father-in-law.
I wish it could be better. However, it's not the best due to him not having any respect for me, for my household, for me as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. And
Why do you think that is? What has he done that has made you feel that way?
it just feels like a very belittling relationship. He's always comparing me to his wife, who is no longer present with us. He's always, it seems to be, excluding me out of activities that he plans with my husband and our children. And I feel like he tries to ask me at the last minute just so that I don't have time to go, because he knows I'm busy, but he doesn't really want me there.
That's not true.
Have you ever talked to your husband about that?
Yeah, he said he didn't want to get in the middle of
Now,
it.
I understand that, but if he doesn't want to get in the middle, then he has to get in the middle. That's exactly what, when he has two people he loves that aren't getting along, then the way he stops that is by getting in the middle and getting everybody to come on the same page here. We're a family. All right, so go ahead. What happens? Give me an example of a time that you believe that he has, disrespected your parenting.
Well, he watches our kids pretty often. He just seems very judgmental of how the house is. He'll make comments like, "Oh, it just seems like no one's cleaning up around here. Son, what type of woman do you have?
Son, what type of woman do you have?
Yes.
In front of you?
Well,
and your husband says nothing?
The next room. He kind of says like, "Dad, come on, Dad," but. He doesn't stand up to his dad because his dad is very toxic and stern and military background. So he's just always like trying to respect him. And
why don't you get another babysitter?
Because
it's really hard, right?
I mean, come on, I'm suing him for $400 seafood.
Okay, let's talk about that. So there was an incident before your party that you got very upset about. Tell me about that.
Well, I had come home one day, my husband and I, and my father-in-law was watching our son, and I walked in and he had spanked him. Did you walk in on him spanking your son? Well, I walked in and he was striking him.
Yeah, okay.
So that really upset me because I don't hit my children. I don't abuse them. I believe in gentle parenting. I believe in talking and talking things through. And he didn't, he had no regard to acknowledging that I was upset. He just took it up with my husband as if I wasn't even present, and that he didn't even care that I'm upset, and I'm sitting here telling my husband and my son and trying to console him. And at the end, I felt like it was just the worst and the wrong thing to do without my permission because I don't raise my children that way.
So what'd you tell him?
I told him don't he ever put his hands on my children again, and I took my son and we just went into the next room.
All right, and then did you see each other after that, or there was like a chilly, hold on a second, I'll get to you in a moment, separation?
He's always there.
Okay, so
you would think he lives
all right,
there.
So then what happened? So you're setting up this party, and your husband and you decide that you're going to hire someone to clean the house.
Well, because I had told my husband that my seafood ticket was about $400, he was like, well, let's not hire a cleaner. Like I said, his dad has military background and he suffers from like PTSD, OCD or something. I don't know. He just has a cleaning problem. And he's like, let my father do it. And I'm like, well, I guess. And I went.
It's a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
In other words, you want boundaries, but then you also want. Here's a problem. Sometimes you got to call it. You got to decide what's better: free childcare and the grandfather always there, or you setting the boundaries down. If your husband won't, and I understand. I understand everybody, including your husband. So you decide, yeah, that'll be great. He's going to clean the house. And then you send him a text with instructions on what to do.
Yes.
And then you get to the house on the night of the party and you're ready to do, you had bought what? Like raw seafood that you were going to cook?
Coming up on Justice for the People.
But you hit him.
Hold on. I'm going to take care of this. I've been taking care of it for 30-something years without your assistance. So don't talk to him now because you're not in your living room. Now you're in my living room.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring you, this is Justice for the People with Judge Millian. We're back with the case of Judy Wilcox, who blames her father-in-law, Scott Wilcox, for trashing her expensive seafood.
I have my evidence here. I have the text message, and then on my menu, I have salmon cutlets, caviar and crackers, cocktail shrimp, baked brie and bread, prosciutto, and salami.
All right, and according to you, you came home, and what was missing?
All of it. I opened the refrigerator, and nothing's there.
And so?
And so I go into the room where he was finishing cleaning up, and I'm like, where's the seafood at? And he proceeds to say, oh, that seafood that smelled bad, it was raw. I wanted to make sure you didn't serve it to your guests. And
he threw it out?
He threw it away. And here I am. It's 6:30. My party starts at 8.
So what'd you do?
I ended up having to go buy food from the local deli, which I have the receipt here, and from one menu of caviar to a menu of deli finger sandwiches.
Mr. Wilcox,
yes,
what
ma'am.
happened here?
I just want to say that my daughter-in-law is just dramatic. She over-dramatizes everything. And I take offense to the word strike. a strike is like in baseball or a third strike in a criminal justice. This is not a strike if I spank my grandson on the bottom.
But you
Okay,
hit
but let me,
him.
hold on. Okay, now it's my turn. I'm going to take care of this. I've been taking care of it for 30-something years without your assistance. So don't talk to him now because you're not in your living room. Now you're in my living room. All right.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
go around spanking everybody's kid?
No, this is a moment.
This is not your, listen, you're a grandparent. You
Yes.
don't have the right to do something that the parents have not given you the right to do.
But this was in a situation where in the future it could have caused a bigger problem
Okay,
for
you're
my
trying to
grandson.
persuade me, and you're never going to,
Yes.
that spanking is a good form of punishment. I don't begrudge you, and the law doesn't begrudge you
Right.
the opportunity for you to discipline
Yes.
your children unless it is tantamount to child abuse, all right, which is illegal. I am telling you right now, you don't have any rights when it comes to your grandkids for you to decide how it is that you're going to discipline them. What is it he had done?
He was going, you know, pretty berserk and wild in the house, throwing things about. And when I went to grab at him, he bit my hand. So it was just an instance where I wanted to teach my grandson.
Yeah, I understand,
that
but it's not
just
your. Do
good
you
to bite
understand
people.
now that it's not your prerogative to decide whether to do that?
It may not, but however,
And he's only
we are
seven.
built,
Ma'am.
we are built on rules and discipline, and this is the reason why we're
Mr.
successful in
Wilcox,
this country.
this is not your child.
Fair enough.
Don't do that again. What did your son tell you when that happened?
He didn't say much. He didn't say much.
Did your son tell you, Dad, don't do that?
Well, he knows that I'm not a overly violent person. I probably only...
I don't care how hard you hit him. If the parents don't, if one of the two parents doesn't want you hitting him, you don't hit. It's not yours to decide. Okay?
yeah.
So you come over to clean.
Yes.
And you went above and beyond and threw out food that she'd purchased for this event. So you had purchased it how long before?
The day before the
The
party.
day before. So why?
However, when she did give me instructions on cleaning up, I did clean up several rooms, kitchen, dining room. And as I go to the kitchen to clean off the counters, I smell the fish smell coming from the refrigerator. This
Okay,
fish
why don't you ask rather than throwing it out?
Because it just smelled like it was spoiled. It just, I mean, I've been around.
Right, why don't you ask and say, hey, this smells terrible. I don't think you should serve this.
I'm just used to taking charge. If I see something that needs to be done, I just take care of
She
it.
feels that you've been criticizing her skills, ability as a mother, as a wife, as a homemaker. Have you ever criticized her?
Yes, I have.
And what is it you've been criticizing?
Just on her long work hours, lack of attention with the children. She doesn't spend enough time with them, in my opinion.
Viewers asked, and now Judge Milian has the answer.
My neighbor built a fence that extends about 4 feet onto my property. Can I make him move it? Can I sue him to get it moved?
You can tear it down. It's on
Okay.
your property. I don't suggest that you do that.
But you have the right to.
You have the right to, but what you should do is alert them to, first of all, get a survey and make sure you're right. And see if there's a dueling surveys that have different information, but
Which can happen.
Which can happen,
Right.
and sometimes well, but I put it right where the other fence was. Well, that other fence was wrong 30 years ago.
Right.
So there should be a survey done, which costs a couple of $100. So people never do that. They go straight to small claims court, and and then neither side has the evidence they need to win. So you need to get a survey done, and then
And don't sit on your hands, because there is also a concept in the law called adverse possession.
That's right.
And it varies from state to state. They have different periods of time.
Right.
Where if you just kind of let it sit there.
And they can prove you knew about it on day 1, and now day 20, year 20 has passed.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, no, they have a right to keep it there. They have an easement there.
It becomes somebody else's land.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it magically becomes owned by somebody else.
Right, right.
And
So-
this is like this rule of adverse possession is a throwback to an earlier time in this country, really, where people would go out west and settle land and get on land and make it productive and create a farm and things like that in land that maybe belonged to somebody else but was just idle forever. And they came up with this idea that, oh, well, you're somehow improving it, and oh, now it's yours. It's been 21 years, okay, now it's yours. It's been 15 years, whatever it might be, now it's yours. But honestly, nowadays it seems kind of outdated.
It seems kind of outdated,
we all
doesn't it?
know, yeah, very outdated. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
It's like being a squatter in a house.
Right.
You sit there long enough, it's going to be your house, really?
Coming up.
If you think she won't throw out bad fish, you talk to your son and say, son, you know, you guys can't serve this. This stinks. But at some point, it's their party and not yours.
With Judge Millian. We're back with the case of Judy Wilcox, who blames her father-in-law, Scott Wilcox, for trashing her expensive seafood.
But here's the thing, you can't be an enabler and then complain about the behavior. If you feel like they need to get a realistic dose of what parenting is and you don't want to babysit every Friday, then just say, no, I've got plans this Friday. That's all you got to do.
Fair enough, yes.
Right, and if they're both working, they can afford, you know, a babysitter. So, but how do you, I don't understand how you throw out stuff from someone else's refrigerator without consulting them.
I want to point out that I did not throw any baked brie bread or any prosciutto salami. It was only spoiled fish.
Okay, but why would you throw that out without saying, hey, that fish smells terrible, and letting them in their house throw it out if that's what they want to do?
Well, the first thing I thought about is food contamination, food poisoning, who she's serving the food to.
So it's not that you didn't think about it. You actually thought about it and said, oh, man, she's so silly, she's going to serve this poison food, so let me throw it out.
Exactly.
Okay, that's overstepping a boundary that you shouldn't overstep. If you think she won't throw out bad fish, you talk to your son and say, son, you know, you guys can't serve this. This stinks. But at some point, it's their party and not yours.
Yeah, but my son rarely gets involved in any situation that she handles around the house.
I don't know. The more I get to know the two of you, the smarter I think your son is. I was giving him grief before, but now I'm not so sure.
He's toxic.
So I was
don't insult your father-in-law in the courtroom when there was no question posed to you, like I've explained before, okay?
Coming up.
Like if you were the cleaning lady and you took it upon yourself to clean out that refrigerator without permission and throw out something that was purchased the day before, yeah, that might be a problem.
Closed captioning.
And I want them to pay for the wrong. It's not about putting, you know, ching ching, let the cash register ring, put me above where I was. If I make him pay for both, then you're in a better position than if he hadn't thrown out the fish, because then you'd have the food for free, right? Which you never anticipated doing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, yeah, he did you wrong. He did. Like if you were the cleaning lady and you took it upon yourself to clean out that refrigerator without permission and throw out something that was purchased the day before, yeah, that might be a problem. And you have a very overinflated sense of your role in there where, and it's kind of, you're letting him have it and your husband's letting him have it because you need him so much. To the point where he's cleaning the house. I mean, that's, you know, figure it out. If you want him to be at length, then keep him more at length. If you want him to be all in the grill, then set the rules and make sure the rules don't get violated. I'll be honest with you. You could be a super hands-on, you know, grandfather in this family and all involved in their stuff and just not throw away the food without permission. You see, like you could still be all around there. You know, it doesn't have to be standoffish and just once a month, but darn, man, have a little respect. This is not your house.
Judge Millian's verdict when justice for the people returns. This is Justice for the People with Judge Millian.
I am going to rule in your favor, but in the amount that was thrown out. That would make you whole. $210.03, verdict for the plaintiff. This does not resolve the real problem. You guys have a problem. You have how many children?
2.
You love your children?
Yes.
You love your grandkids?
Yes, I do.
You have got to figure out what the rules are in the house, okay? And you've got to figure out what you've got to do so you can be able to get along with your father-in-law, because trust me, having a relationship with your father-in-law is so in your best interest and in the children's best interest. You know that because you have free child care of someone who you know loves them, right?
Yeah.
All right, so guys, take a moment in your private lives, the two of you, and figure out how to make it so that this family is a successful, happy, well-adjusted family with mutual respect. Got it? Okay. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
All rise.
Judge Millian has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $210.03. Carol Locks claims her tenant constantly set off her security alarm, which resulted in expensive fines. Robbie Lopez says Ms. Locks refused to give him the correct code, so it's not his fault he kept triggering the alarm.
All right, Ms. Locks, you are suing Mr. Lopez for $1,500 that you say he has to pay as your tenant or former tenant,
Yes.
because he set off the alarms and caused you to obtain some fines.
Yes.
How did it come about that he was living in your home?
Well, first of all, a friend of mine told me that, she's a good friend of mine actually, and she told me that she knew of this boy who was living with his parents. They were having a few problems with him, okay? And could he possibly come and live with me?
Oh,
You know.
nothing entices me to have someone move in other than to hear that they're having problems
exactly.
where they live.
Yeah, but you're not me though, and let me
Okay.
explain to you, okay?
Because
Yes,
it's not
I
true.
am not. But
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because
Go
it's not
ahead.
true.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Okay, yeah, because I have 2 sons, okay?
Okay.
And they were problematic as well, okay?
So this is your mission, kind of.
Boy, you've got it.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's
I
my
still
mission.
wouldn't do it, but I applaud you.
No, it's
and
my
so have you
mission.
done this before?
No, I've never done this before.
Oh, it didn't
I've
work
never
out
been
so well.
asked to do this before.
Okay. All right, so he moves in, and how long is he living? How old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, how long is he living with you?
He's been living with me for about a year.
Okay, and tell me about the alarms. What was going on?
Well, the alarms, he was setting the alarms. He was setting them off. They
Setting
went
them off how?
Well, I don't know. He got the code wrong or something. I don't know what he was doing.
Was the code the same the whole year?
No, I changed it. And there were reasons that I had to change it. Because,
Why did you change it?
Well, you know, I provided him with a bunch of rules that he had to follow in order to be able to stay with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have those rules with you?
I don't have them with me.
Do you have those rules with
I
you?
do.
He
Can I
does.
see them?
Thank you.
If you do sit on the couch or chairs, please fluff the cushions after use. Avoid use of lights if natural light is substantial enough. Unplug all appliances when leaving the house. Every day? Every time he leaves the house, he unplugs
Well, yeah,
all the...
I don't want to have to pay extra money.
Okay, so she says that the alarm kept going off and that it was your fault. What say you to that?
Well, I just think she's wrong. She changes the code a lot, and the times that it did go off was because she changed the code.
Without telling you?
telling me.
Would you tell him every time you changed the code?
Okay, well, what I did tell him once, and a few of the other times, what I did was I got a sticky note and I put it on his door, and I gave him the new code there, so we would have it when he left the house, and he could see that there was a new
But if he
code.
opens the door and walks out, he may not turn around to look at the door where you left it on. How about just some communication?
Well,
do you text at all or no?
No, I'm not really
that's
that
fine.
adept at
So,
texting.
but I mean, it seems you're living in the same house. How big?
Right.
You know, so don't you see each other?
Yeah, I did tell him. I think a couple of times I told you.
But you're not sure?
I think it was at least a couple of times.
Well, but I mean, you have to tell him each time you change it. Otherwise, the alarm is going to go off. He's not going to know what to do. What
Right,
would you do
and
when
then
the alarm would go off? What would you do?
So there's really not much you can do. I would call her, and normally the protocol would be she uses the code to turn it off, to disable the alarm. But there are some times where she doesn't even answer her phone, and I'm just left to just let it ring until
No, that's
she
got
does
to bother
notice
the
it.
neighbors.
It does, yeah.
Jeez.
But don't you think after the first time, he would have realized that he has to always check with me to see what the code is? Because the only reason
I think if you change the code, it's up to you to tell him that you changed the code. He can't assume every day while he's too busy unplugging every appliance and television set. He can't come to, oh, by the way, did you change the code? That's really something that you have to tell him when you change it, and you have to communicate it to him effectively, because otherwise, can I see, were you being fined by the city?
Oh, you bet I was.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
Do you have those?
Thank you.
One of the reasons that I kept changing it was because he proved to be very, very negligent. He wouldn't do a lot of the things that he signed and said that he would do. He didn't unplug the appliances. He didn't flush the pillows. You know, there are a lot of things that he signed and said he was
how
going to
does
do.
changing the alarm code help that?
Because I have to trust him. You know, how can I trust a guy who keeps doing things like that? He signed it, and he's not doing what he said he was going to do.
Right, but if you're going to change the alarm code, and because you don't trust him, then you don't give him the code and you tell him to get out.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
Hopefully he
So
will get
maybe
the
you're
idea.
changing the code and not giving it to him because you don't trust him.
Well, no.
And later,
I didn't want to waste our trip like that. I didn't want to spend our first day
Wait a
chilling
second,
in the
sorry. Are you saying
hotel.
that sitting with a daiquiri by the pool is a waste? Because
No,
I
not-
beg to differ.
Judge Millian. We're back with the case of Carol Lux, who blames Robbie Lopez for always triggering her home security system.
You expect him to know the code, so changing the code doesn't help with what you're saying.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure that he didn't give the code to anybody else.
Oh, is
Okay.
that it?
Yes.
Oh, so you were worried because he wasn't following some rules, you were worried he might be giving, but it doesn't matter because the minute you give him the code, he can give it to somebody else again.
No, I know, but hopefully he
So
will get
maybe
the
you're
idea.
changing the code and not giving it to him because you don't trust him.
Well, no. I said no.
You may say your voice says no, but my brain says yes.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the only thing to do if you don't trust somebody. You don't necessarily want them in and out
I didn't trust him as fully as I would have liked to have trusted him, okay?
He lived there a long time for the situation to be that bad.
Well, because I'm such a nice woman.
Okay.
You know, I gave him a real shot.
Okay.
You know, because I saw what
How
happened
did
with
you
my
end up
son.
leaving finally? Under what circumstances?
It just became too much.
How's that possible?
Did she demand the money for the fines?
Until after the fact, yeah.
After you moved out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you helpful?
I think I was helpful. I always paid rent on time.
Well, you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
You don't get a cookie.
Yeah, hello.
But did you lift heavy stuff?
I would help her out with.
Did you
with
put out
some
the garbage
household-
for her? Did you?
Yes. I
You
did
know, like how else would you help her out?
Well, I mean, I guess it was also part of her strict house rules, but it was everything from the garbage to cleaning up, at least 3 times a week.
Okay. Who's the lady with you?
She's my witness. She's the neighbor to Miss Lux.
She's your neighbor?
No, she's a witness. Yes, she is my neighbor. And he would take her garbage out.
Okay.
Ha!
Step
And now
on
she's
up.
showing up to stand
I
up
was just
for him.
helping out. I was just.
So how long have you lived there?
14 years.
All right. And how long have you known Ms. Lux?
The whole time.
Okay.
She was there first.
And are you friendly with each other?
We're friendly enough.
We used to
what
be
is-
friendlier.
What does that mean, friendly enough? Like hi bye? Was there a problem between you two or no?
No, there was not a problem. She's just a little persnickety.
Persnickety. Okay. Anything else or?
I just try and keep things polite.
Okay. So what he asked you to be a witness for him. What is it you're testifying to that will help me decide this case?
So the alarms, they do go off periodically on the house, and
Was that happening before he got there?
It was.
So I noticed through looking at this paperwork that they dismiss a bunch of them for you. Like,
Yeah.
How many did
Goodness.
they? Yeah, they dismissed how many?
They dismissed 3 of them.
And then that leaves how many others? 5 others?
Yes.
All right, and that's a lot of alarms going off.
That's a lot. It's $1,500
No,
worth.
and it's not just an alarm going off. It's an alarm going off long enough for a neighbor to pick up the phone, call the police, and the police to report. Mm-hmm. That's alarms going off a lot.
That's right.
Okay, well, one way to not have that happen is to stop changing the code so that he doesn't come home to a changed code that nobody communicated to him.
But I didn't. I changed the code on occasion.
How often would you change the code?
Maybe once every couple of weeks.
Really? Okay.
Well, one time, you won't believe this. One time, he shows up. He's not even there. And there's this strange woman just standing in my house.
Okay.
What do you say to that?
What did she say to that when you asked her, who are you?
She said that he was out there, like, locking up the car.
Okay.
But, you know, my fear when I walk in and I see this woman I've never seen before standing in my house.
I don't think you should rent a room to a 22-year-old college student.
No, well,
if that shocks you and scares you, you need to live alone and not have, you know, the hassle of having somebody else there.
I just thought I was doing a good thing.
I understand, and that's lovely, but the truth of the matter is that you've come to court and you're suing him and you want him to fork over all this money because the alarm went off, and the alarm went off because you kept changing the code and you've admitted to not really communicating that to him. So I don't think I'm going to make him pay you, and I'm sorry, and it's lovely that you were doing a good thing. Let's not mistake this either. He was also paying how much for a room?
$800.
Okay, and that's helpful. Obviously, but you know, when you're the plaintiff in a lawsuit, you have the burden of proof, and what that means is you have to prove to me that it is more likely than not his fault that these alarms stayed on to the point where, you know, people, that means he's forgetting the code, not he's trying to reach you, can't reach you, and you've changed the code yet again. And honestly, I don't know whose fault it is. Because based on what I'm hearing, it could be his, it could be yours. It might more likely than not be yours and not his. But I can't tell, and if I can't tell, then you haven't proven your case. Verdict for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Millian has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
He signed the document that I gave him, and he signed it saying that he was going to keep up with everything that he had signed. So of course I didn't trust him, and of course I had to change the codes.
I'm just really happy about the decision, and I still have a lot of respect for Miss Locks for having me in her house.
Coming up.
She had a whole schedule planned out. Like,
right. Had you ever traveled with each other?
No.
No. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. That's kind of when I would decide I'm going to keep dating this guy or I'm not.
Closed captioning provided by Jefferson claims her former friend should help pay for the damage to a rental car they shared on vacation. Tanya Whitaker says she wasn't driving, so it's not her problem.
Okay, Ms. Jefferson, you are suing what I take to be your former friend, Ms. Whitaker, for half of your deductible and your insurance because while you were on vacation agreeing to split the costs, there was an accident. Tell me about the vacation. You two had planned to take a vacation together to where?
Atlanta.
All right.
We were celebrating our graduation.
Okay. From?
Nursing school.
Wonderful. All right. So you go to Atlanta, and the idea is that you're going to split everything, correct?
Yes.
All right.
As soon as we touched down, I was the first one driving, and I drove us to our hotel to check in.
Had anybody talked about who would do the driving?
No, it wasn't a full discussion, but we had assumed that it would
when
be
you
50.
rented the car, you split the cost of the car?
Yes. When we get to our hotel, initially, as soon as we open the door, she chooses what bed she wants first. I was the one who booked the whole trip and planned everything, and she just barged in and made the room her own, didn't talk to me about anything that had happened.
And then what happens? What else does she do?
We were late to most events that we wanted to go to, and I would give her a time frame, like we should start getting ready at this time. Would she get ready at that time? No, she wouldn't.
Okay.
And she had a whole schedule planned out. Like,
right. Had you ever traveled with each other?
No.
No.
Yeah,
It was our first trip.
that's kind of a thing. That's kind of when I would decide I'm going to keep dating this guy or I'm not. You know, because if you know, so there's different traveling styles. Some people are, and some people are, I just want to sit with a daiquiri by the pool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I didn't want to waste our trip like that. I didn't want to spend our first day
wait a
just
minute,
chilling
sorry.
in the
Are you saying
hotel.
that sitting with a daiquiri by the pool is a waste? Because
No,
I beg to differ. But no, I understand that. I know what you're saying, and I'm a planner too, and I understand what you're saying.
Coming up.
Had you said to her at any point in time, will you please drive?
no, she didn't say that.
Was I talking to you?
Closed captioning provided by... We're back with a dispute between Sheila Jefferson and her former friend Tanya Whitaker over who should pay for a damaged rental car.
The day of the accident, how many days into the vacation was it?
This is our second day.
Okay. And had you said to her at any point in time, will you please drive?
No, she didn't say that.
Was I talking to you?
Okay. She just
No, I wasn't talking to you. I was asking her what she said. I want to hear from her. Did you ever say to her, it's your turn to drive?
No, because I didn't want to seem too pushy in that.
But why
sense.
is that? Where does someone go wrong with us where we think that communication and explaining our needs means we're pushy? Like you're trying to not be pushy when you clearly had a need to also enjoy yourself. So you don't have to say, you jerk, why aren't you driving? And you didn't, and then what ends up happening?
Well, we had gone to the club, and we're leaving around closing time, around 3 a.m. She's complaining that her feet hurt, and so we get to our parking spot, and it's a really confined space, and so as we're squeezing into the car.
I wanted to valet park.
Nobody's talking to you. Go on.
I'm backing out of our parking spot, and there's a cement column right behind the vehicle. I think I just overcorrected a bit and bumped into it.
Okay. Do you have a picture of the car, the damage? May I see it? The concrete. She hits a concrete pillar, and what does everybody say?
Thank you.
We got out the car, and I walked around the back, and all I could say was like, wow. I didn't expect there to be that much damage. I thought it was just going to be like a small scrape.
Judge Million's verdict when justice for the people returns. Promotional consideration provided by Judge Million.
Here's the thing. Your agreement is to split everything 50-50, but it's everything that's foreseeable. The expenses of the car, gasoline, parking maybe, the rental. It is not if you have a negligent moment. That is your negligent moment. It is not her negligent moment. But at the end of the day, you were the person who was driving who had a little accident that ended up costing a bunch of money. How is it her fault? That's not an expense that she expected to split with you, okay? But my verdict is for the defendant. That's the legally correct answer and ruling, okay?
Thank you.
All rise.
Judge Million has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied. Jean-Pierre claims he couldn't take a lucrative voice actor gig after his girlfriend's brother sabotaged a hot wing eating contest. Michael Garrett says the only thing Mr. Pierre couldn't take was the heat.
Mr. Pierre, you are suing Mr. Garrett for $2,095 that you of him sabotaging you during a hot chicken eating challenge. What is going on?
Hi, good afternoon, Anya. How's it going?
Good.
Yes, I'm suing Mike over here over the damages that he's caused by our deal over this wing eating competition, and he is getting in between my relationship with me and Alyssa.
Okay, so let's back up a second. What were you doing eating hot wings?
To give you a little background, Your Honor, me and Alyssa have been dating for well under a year now. And
under a year? How long have you been dating?
For 9 months exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and around the 3-month mark, she introduces me to her brother.
Okay, so the defendant is her brother.
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And
this is awkward. Go ahead.
And she introduces me to her brother, and right off the bat, he just doesn't like me. For some reason, he just doesn't like me, and I take notice of that. And Your Honor, I'm a family-oriented type of man, so I do not want any division between any family or any relationship.
Do you not like him?
Your Honor, this is ridiculous. This man is trying to villainize me rather than.
Do you not like him?
No, Your Honor, I'm not a fan of him.
Okay, and is there a particular reason?
Your Honor, this man refuses to take responsibility for his own actions, and I'm sick of him.
No, I meant before the hot wing incident. We'll get into that in a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Like, just in general, why did you think he wasn't good enough for your sister?
Your Honor, I think this man is a pushover who has no business dating my sister. He would rather take all of us on family dates and try to win my approval rather than treat my sister right.
Okay, come on up, sis. You the sister?
Yes.
Okay. Is it weird being on the other side in a courtroom with your brother?
It is weird. You know, Mikey's been there for me since day one. We, had a lot of family troubles. Dad wasn't really around. Mom passed away about a year and a half ago. Mikey's always been there for me. But then to have him have such a problem with my boyfriend is really frustrating. And
okay, have you talked to your brother about it?
I have, and he refuses to acknowledge that he intentionally injured my boyfriend, and as a result had
Okay, I'd like to know about, before we lead up to the big event, you're dating him for a good, what, 9 months? So,
3 months before
that, so 6 months. And you get the impression your brother doesn't like your boyfriend. Do you ever ask your brother, what's the problem?
I did.
And what'd he say?
He said he wasn't man enough, that he should be able to provide for me. Johnny is a freelance voice actor, so that means gigs are a little more sporadic, a little more unpredictable. So he's like, oh, you don't have a stable job, you can't provide for my sister, even though, you know, I'm 23, I wait tables, I have a college degree, I'm applying for...
Okay,
And
I'm sorry. If you can't even control yourself when there's a judge in a black robe sitting there, I can only imagine how you hover over her outside the courtroom. Do not interrupt her. Go on.
What I was saying is, you know, I'm making plenty of money for myself. I'm doing just fine.
You don't need a provider.
Exactly.
You want a mate.
Exactly.
All right, and that's a mate you chose, because that's your mate, not his mate. How old are you?
28, Your Honor.
Okay. So now let's talk about the chicken wing eating contest. Exactly what happened, Mr. Pierre?
So, Your Honor, she told me in a couple weeks in advance that, oh, you know, we're having this chicken wing eating contest. You know, you should come and participate. I think Mikey would like it. And after trying for so long to get her brother's approval, I just, you know, I was like, I put my pride to the side. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Maybe if I win, I'll somehow like get his approval and we'll all be a happy family. So I was training for weeks for this competition.
I'm sorry, how do you train for this?
So, Your Honor, I was literally, every time I went...
Killing your taste buds as much as you could?
No, I would just get wings every time I went out, just for weeks straight, just only wings, because I was like, I wanted to have a happily ever after. Like, I really wanted us to be a happy family.
I think you need to slow your roll, okay? Because the truth of the matter is you've been dating her only 9 months, and if he doesn't like you, so what? And that's kind of why he's worried about it, because you're like, you have this childish need for approval when he does. You don't need his approval, and he wants you to not need his approval. That's kind of what's going on. But so you're practicing because you want to win his approval by winning a chicken eating contest, a hot wing chicken eating contest. So what are you doing? Are you going to restaurants and gradually getting them hotter and hotter and hotter to accustom your taste buds?
Your
I don't
Honor,
understand. What are you doing?
For the weeks coming up to the Super Bowl event, I literally was just eating wings. There's nothing other than me just eating wings for like 4 weeks straight.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
So I take a bite of this wing. Your Honor, as soon as I put this wing down, my throat is literally on fire. And it wasn't a normal reaction like, oh,
Wait, your throat went on fire during a hot wing?
I know it sounds ridiculous, but it wasn't.
Who knew?
If you... We're back with the case of Jean-Pierre, who brought Michael Garrett to court for sabotaging a hot wing eating contest.
So what are you doing? Are you going to restaurants and gradually getting them hotter and hotter and hotter to accustom your taste buds?
Your
I don't
Honor,
understand. What are you doing?
For the weeks coming up to the Super Bowl event, I literally was just eating wings. There's nothing other than me just eating wings for like 4 weeks straight. So, Your Honor...
Well, I imagine the trick to this is that they're really hot.
Yeah, they were mildly hot. I was working up my appetite to it. But to continue the story, so the day of the competition comes, and the way the competition works is that there's 10 wings. There's 7 contestants, and 10 wings. Each wing gets progressively hotter. So at any given moment, you could tap out. There's an 8-ounce glass of milk if you want to drink it to help you out through the thing. So around wing 5, I start eating wings. I'm feeling good. 4 people tap out, and I'm like,
and they tap out because it's just too spicy.
It's just too spicy. So but the 5th wing, it's like, oh great, like I'm gonna win. Like this is it. This is what I've been waiting for like months now. So by the 5th wing, I'm doing good. I'm going in, and then the 6th wing comes, and someone else taps out. So it's me and Ryan. We were the only one left. So it's me and
Ryan. You're Ryan. Okay.
Yeah, that's that guy. So
that guy. Are you? What is? Go ahead and come on up. You are.
Excuse me, ma'am.
You can stay standing. So you are what relation to this gentleman?
He's childhood best friend since high school, and I know the family for a good period of time.
Okay, so now it's just the two of you, and what happens according to you?
Your Honor, so by the 7th wing,
How are these wings? Are they all in one plate in front of you?
Yes, so it's like a board. It's basically a board. So each wing is like, so from the left side, it's like the least spiciest.
Or the most mild, and then the
right side is exactly.
And so, but there, you know, a board is placed in front of each person?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and who places the board in front of you?
Mike over here.
Okay.
He has been hosting this event.
And you don't participate, right, Mr. Garrett?
No, Your Honor. I prepared the wings.
He's the host.
You prepared the wings. Okay. So now you're in wing what?
7.
7. And what happens?
7. I thought that I was going to win. Like, okay, great. We're going to do this. So I pick up this wing, and this wing is super wet. It's super hot, super dry. It's not a good wing. So it's
Is it wet or dry?
It's dry in the inside. It's cooked to like just pure bones, and then it's super wet. It has this layer of just wetness.
Okay.
So I was literally in the heat of the moment. So I didn't think twice about eating this wing. So I take a bite of this wing. Your Honor, as soon as I put this wing down, my throat is literally on fire, and it wasn't a normal reaction. Like, oh, I'm.
Wait, your throat went on fire during a hot wing?
I know it sounds ridiculous, but it wasn't.
Competition. Who knew? Who knew that could happen?
I know it sounds like, oh yeah, no, but it was just not a normal human reaction towards a spicy wing. So I put this wing down. I'm crying. I'm tearing up. Snot's coming out of my nose. It's just horrible. And it's like, so I freak out. I'm like, the pain is not going away. I run to their refrigerator, destroy their whole milk, all of their milk, and the pain.
Meaning you drank it all?
I drank it all. Yeah,
Okay.
I literally just ran through their whole milk supply.
Okay.
So the pain just doesn't go away. It was to a point where it was so bad and so excruciating that I had to go to the urgent care.
Okay.
And Your
Now
Honor,
you had a gig scheduled. How much later?
I had 4 days after the Super Bowl. After Super Bowl
4 days after the Super Bowl, you had a gig scheduled to do
yes,
what?
ma'am. I'm a voice actor.
So you.
I'm a voice actor, yes. I'm a voice actor 4 days.
No, but I just, so you have, what my daughters sing, and when they sing, they won't even go out the Saturday before because I know they're going to lose their voice. What are you doing participating in a chicken wing, hot chicken wing eating contest a few days before a $2,000 gig?
The thing with the wings, it's like I've been eating wings, as I told you, I've been training for weeks.
Do you think he did something to the wings?
Your Honor, I'm telling you, this wing I was sabotaged. Like, I've been eating wings for weeks now. I'm a wing guy.
So you think he knew what plate was going in front of you because he's the one who put it, so he deliberately, go ahead, let me hear from you, Alyssa, what are you going to...
So, I was talking to Mikey in the kitchen, he's preparing the wings, he's the hosting, and I saw him add some extra sauce to one of the wings, and I thought, that's weird, but, I didn't really pay much attention to it because I was like, okay, he's just adding sauce, like that's...
To a particular...
We're back with the case of Jean-Pierre, who brought Michael Garrett to court for sabotaging a hot wing eating contest.
Your Honor, this
You won the contest. What more do you want? Go ahead.
Actually, the contest wasn't even won because this man interrupted the entire party.
Well, you were the last man standing, so was there prize money?
Not really. It's just, yeah.
All right. Did he ever joke with you afterwards about what happened to him?
Not really. He was really mad of the situation because he destroyed the party. And
by what? Having a reaction to hot chicken? What? Have none of you ever done this before? You do this a lot, right? Like you do this every Super Bowl, or what? Or am I wrong?
I do this every Super Bowl, and I've done it for the last 8 years.
How often do you add a little hot sauce?
I add them to all the wings, Your Honor.
No, he doesn't.
No,
I've done this
added extra.
I was
to
sabotaged.
specific wings.
Okay. Honestly,
he's jealous of my beautiful voice. That's why.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you guys a couple of things. Number one, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that you added hot sauce. None. Number two, I don't care. I'm not understanding how he would be responsible for you continuously eating wings, the hot sauce of which you have no control over, and then you complain. In other words, when you participate in this, you have basically decided that you are subjecting yourself to whatever hotness there might happen to be, which is a totally random thing.
Coming up.
No one is diagnosed with esophageal thermal injury after eating 10 wings, even the spiciest wings, and I have a bit of evidence over here, Your Honor.
That's fine, but whose fault is it? Who ate the wings?
Closed captioning provided by Judge Millian. We're back with the case of Jean-Pierre, who brought Michael Garrett to court for sabotaging a hot wing eating contest.
You have no control over how much heat is in any of these wings. So how is it that he did something, let's assume the absolute worst, and I am, that he added sauce to your specific wings? Nobody made you eat the wings?
Your Honor, so just to, address the situation, no one is diagnosed with esophageal thermal injury after eating 10 wings, even the spiciest wings, and I have a bit of evidence over here, Your Honor.
That's fine, but whose fault is it? Who ate the wings?
Your
Give
Honor,
me the actual medical evidence. That's what I want.
Yes, Your Honor. So what you will see here is after I went to the urgent care, I was diagnosed with esophagus thermal injury, which is not a normal reaction over eating wings.
Well,
yes.
I don't know that.
Oh,
You say that, but it depends on the wing and how hot it is. I mean, apparently this happened to you from eating hot food. What do you think? He poisoned you? There's no poison in it. It's just eating hot enough wings. So this happens to be a super hot wing.
This happened to be a sabotage wing. That was.
Can I just ask you something?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
assuming it's a sabotage wing. I'm going to assume as a fact that it is a sabotage wing. Assuming that the guy who doesn't like you put the sauce on the wings. Right? Because you know that.
Of course. Yeah.
And then he put the wings in front of you, and you know that. And then you assume the risk of eating the wings, you know that. And you have a gig in 4 days, and you don't have gigs every day.
Of course.
You know that. All right. Who's responsible then that you lost your voice and, ended up, eating too hot wings?
I will own up to the situation. It's my own fault. It's my own thing. But no one is exposed to injury when being in a wing eating contest. That is the part that I'm trying to get at here, Your Honor, is that no matter how spicy a wing is, no matter how whatever.
Well, that's not true, because apparently this wing was so spicy it created the damage. So your sentence that no matter how spicy a wing is, it wouldn't cause the damage is inherently not correct, because this spicy wing caused the damage, is what you're telling me.
Judge Million's verdict when justice for the people returns. Promotional consideration provided for the people with Judge Million.
What control do you have over how much heat is in the wing? You have none, because you didn't cook them. And you're in a contest where that's the risk and the fun, that you have no idea how much is in there. Now, if I knew this man didn't like me, the last thing I'm going to do is eat his wings. I'm not going to get within 10 feet of his wings, okay? Because I would be, and when you tell me, oh, I saw him add something, I don't know what you're thinking, because what I do is when he turned around, I take that wing and I switch it and have his best friend eat it. I do something, but I certainly wouldn't expose my boyfriend to thermal esophageal blah, blah, blah. Well, so I don't need to hear anymore. I don't need to hear anymore. There's some personal responsibility here. I am assuming that he added heat to your wing. I don't care, because when you sit there at a hot wing eating contest, you have no expectation of how much heat is going to be in it. And when you say to me, oh, but nobody gets sick from it, well, obviously somebody did, because he added extra heat. The thing is, he didn't violate a duty to you, because you're actually doing the thing that you agreed to do, which is eat a wing where somebody else is in charge of the sauce, which I would never have done if I knew he didn't like me. Verdict for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Million has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
At the end of the day, he's not someone who will ever take responsibility for his actions, and that's why I don't want him near.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã quay lại với kênh của mình. Chúng ta cùng nhau tiếp tục với lại bài tập ở trang số 64 nhé. Hôm qua chúng ta mới chỉ luyện tập được bài số 1 thôi. Hôm nay các bạn sẽ thực hiện bài số 2 và bài số 3 cho mình nha. Ở bài số 2 chúng ta sẽ yêu cầu là tính nhẩm nhé. Các bạn sẽ thực hiện tính nhẩm từng phép tính nha. Rồi chúng ta có phép tính 7 cộng 1
bằng 8 ạ.
7 thêm 1 nhé. Chúng ta nắm tay vào số 7 nào. Thêm 1, chúng ta chỉ giơ một ngón tay thôi đúng không nào? 7. Đếm thêm 7 đúng không? Kết quả bằng 8. Rồi, tiếp tục 6 cộng 2, chúng ta nắm tay vào số 6. Số 6 chúng ta nắm tay vào nhé. Chúng ta thêm 2 bước. Nào, chúng ta thêm 2 bước nào. 6 7 8. Vậy là đáp án sẽ là mấy nhỉ? Là 8. Tiếp tục 5 cộng 3 bằng
8.
4 cộng 4 bằng
8.
1 cộng 7 bằng
8.
2 cộng 6 bằng
8.
3 cộng 5 bằng
8.
8 cộng 0 bằng
8.
À, vậy rất nhiều phép tính cộng lại thì đều bằng
8.
8 đúng không nào? Chúng ta đến bài tập số 3. Số thích hợp vào ô trống hỏi chấm nào. 9 cộng với bằng
9.
Rồi tiếp tục nào.
8 cộng 1 bằng 7.
8 cộng 1 bằng mấy?
8, 9.
Nói to lên nào.
8 cộng 1 bằng 9. 7 cộng 2 bằng 9. 6 cộng 3 bằng 9. 5 cộng 4 bằng 9.
Rồi, tất cả đều bằng phép tính là mấy nhỉ?
9.
9 đấy đúng không nào? Tiếp tục chuyển sang bài số 4 nhá. Hình vẽ của chúng ta có con gì đây? Con gì đây nhỉ?
Con bướm.
Con bướm và những bông gì?
Bông hoa.
Rồi chúng ta sẽ phải đếm xem là có tất cả bao nhiêu con bướm. Ở đây là có 4 con bướm xanh đúng không? Cộng với lại 4 con bướm vàng. Chúng ta có tất cả là mấy con bướm nhỉ? Đếm xem có tất cả là mấy con bướm. 4 con màu xanh cộng 4 con màu vàng bằng mấy? Bằng 8. Tiếp tục ý B chúng ta có mấy cái kem đây?
4 cái kem, 1 cái kem, 3 cái kem, 3 cái kem.
Bên này có mấy cái nào? Quân nào?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Bạn Quân đếm chưa đúng rồi. Trong này chỉ có 6 cái kem thôi. 6 cái kem cộng với 3 cái kem.
3 cái kem ít.
Đúng rồi, 6 cái kem cộng 3 cái kem sẽ là 9 cái kem các bạn nhé. Thời lượng của kênh này đến đây là hết rồi. Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã theo dõi kênh của mình nhé. Tạm biệt.